What if everything we've been told about getting older is just wrong? In this explainer, we're diving into the huge ideas from David Sinclair's book, Lifespan. And we're using an awesome summary from learned.org to guide us through this really radical new way of looking at our future.
Okay, so let's start with a pretty mind-bending question. What if aging isn't this inevitable thing that just has to happen? What if it's a disease? And if it's a disease, well, that means it could be treatable. This is the complete paradigm shift that scientist David Sinclair is proposing.
So what is this disease then? According to Sinclair's information theory of aging, the real bad guy here isn't our body just wearing out, like an old car. No, it's a loss of information. It's a massive communication breakdown that's happening inside every single cell in your body.
To really get this, Sinclair gives us a brilliant analogy. Think about your genetic code, your genome, as a perfectly preserved DVD. The digital information on it, it's solid. The problem is the epigenome. That's the laser that reads the DVD. Over time, that reader gets scratched and dusty, and it starts to skip. It can't read the perfect information correctly anymore, and that, right there, is the root cause of aging.
This damage, these so-called scratches, is what scientists call epigenetic noise. It's basically a scrambling of the instructions. All of a sudden, a skin cell might start turning on genes that are meant for a liver cell. It starts to forget what its job is. And that cellular confusion, when you multiply it by trillions of cells, well, that is aging. So what's causing all these scratches on the reader? You might be surprised. It's not some kind of outside enemy. It's actually a side effect of a really clever, ancient survival mechanism that's been built into our DNA for millions of years.
So here's the deal. It's a biological trade-off. Our DNA is constantly getting little breaks and dings just from living. When that happens, a heroic repair crew called sirtuins rushes to the scene to patch things up. But here's the catch. Their main job was to keep other genes switched off. After every emergency repair, they get a little bit lost, and they don't always make it back to their original post. So our body is basically sacrificing long-term order for short-term survival.
And this leads to maybe the most important insight of the whole thing. Sinclair puts it this way. Aging is the single greatest risk factor for nearly every major illness. Just think about that for a second. If we stop trying to treat cancer and heart disease and dementia as totally separate problems, and instead we treat the root cause, aging itself, we could potentially prevent all of them at once.
Now, this isn't just some cool theory to talk about, it's actually a practical guide. The most empowering part of this whole story is that we have the ability to fight back. We can actually quiet that epigenetic noise and wake up our body's own powerful defenses. The secret is a concept called hormesis. You know the old saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger? Well, this is that, but on a cellular level. By putting our bodies under a little bit of manageable stress, we trigger those ancient survival circuits, those sirtuins, to get to work cleaning house and boosting our defenses, all without causing any real harm.
And you don't need some fancy lab to do this. You can trigger hormesis with pretty simple lifestyle choices. I'm talking about things like intermittent fasting, high-intensity exercise, or even just ending your shower with a blast of cold water. These things send a signal to your body that, hey, things are a little tough, and that wakes up your longevity genes.
Take intermittent fasting, for instance. It's one of the most powerful ways to get these pathways going. And it doesn't have to be super complicated. You could just start by skipping a meal here and there, or maybe try the really popular 16-8 method, where you just keep all your eating inside an 8-hour window each day.
Okay, so lifestyle changes are incredibly powerful. We get that. But science is pushing this way, way further. We're actually on the verge of developing therapies that could directly target and maybe even reverse the aging process at its core.
One of the most promising things out there is NAD boosters. So remember that sirtuin repair crew? Well, NAD is their fuel. The big problem is our NAD levels drop by about half by the time we hit middle age. So these boosters are designed to basically refill the tank, giving our sirtuins the energy they need to do their jobs right. And then there's something called senolytics. These things target something that sounds like it's straight out of a horror movie, zombie cells. These are basically old cells that just refuse to die. They just hang around, leaking these inflammatory chemicals that damage all the healthy cells around them. Senolytics are like a microscopic cleanup crew that hunts down and destroys these troublemakers. But the most futuristic and honestly just mind-blowing development is cellular reprogramming. Using a special set of genes known as Yamanaka factors, scientists are figuring out how to hit a reset button on a cell's epigenetic clock. They can effectively tell a cell to become young again.
And I want to be clear,
This is not science fiction. This is happening now. In one landmark experiment, David Sinclair's lab restored the vision in old mice just by reprogramming their optic nerve cells. Let that sink in. This is the ultimate proof that the youthful information, that perfect data on the DVD, it's never lost. It's still there, just waiting for us to figure out how to hit play again.
So the science is becoming really clear. We have so much more control over how we age than we ever thought was possible. The question isn't if we can do something about it anymore, it's what are we going to choose to do? So I'll leave you with this. What's one small, healthy stress you'll add to your life this week to start resetting your own clock?